Happy Thursday to one and all, and welcome to the party stream! Bah, bah. Air horn noises. Alright. So what's this we got here? That's right. That is a Mark 6 Astartes in... This is an Adeptus Astartes and Mark 6 power armor for the Horus Heresy. How's it going, Ilmarin? We are painting not 40k, 30k tonight. Now, I want to mention this on my YouTube channel earlier, but we are actually going to have a topic of discussion today, and it is going to be planning out workflow. Army painting is a very different skill from individual figure painting. So that is what we're going to go. Also, we have Elite Catania, so you are welcome to the stream as well. I don't understand what you were saying, because I'm assuming that's Russian, and I don't speak Russian, but you are welcomed in here. That's a blood bowler. It is not quite a blood bowler. A bloody bolter, maybe. And the bolter is a completely nonsensical weapon. But the only big technique I'm going to go over is how I get my blood splatters like that. Hi, Cats Mini Art. Thank you for saying hi. I love you too. All right, so we're going to go over... We are going to go over, let's get rid of that, that's a demi-lich. We're going to go over workflow, but we have everything we need for a normal painting. We have, obviously, our miniatures and sub-assembly, plenty of paints. We have brushes. We have our wet palette ready to go. And we have the most important painting supply of all, an ice-cold, frothy beer. Adult beverage of some sort. Tonight we're going to have beer because I don't feel like getting too gone. I might have some whiskey later. And let's get started. Okay, so that's my test model. I'm going to go ahead and update a few things on it because I want like a little bit of like color on the vents, a little bit of metallic color in the vents of his backpack. I don't have my transfers yet because they're perpetually sold out, but we're doing World Eaters. So because I know dry time is going to be a part of some of this, I'm going to go and start out with the easiest things and what is going to have the longest dry time. So we have on the base, we're going to start with charred brown. And the base is going to be really, really simple. It's just, actually no, we're not going to do charred brown. We're going to do ruddy leather. That's right. Uh-oh, I got some frame drops happening. Sorry about that, guys. All right, I'm not even going to bother pulling out the wet palette for this. It's just going to go on the top because this is going to be like just slathering on a bunch of paint. Bases because the ballast is providing so much texturing. Like this kind of stuff, you just gotta slather that paint on. It's got so much surface area. So we're also going to go and discuss sub-assemblies because I do have these guys in some sub-assemblies. But for now, first step, and then at some point in the future, we can go ahead and dry brush this, but I want it to be completely dry. But yeah, we got a little bit of water in our paint, so it'll go into the cracks. Big brush, slather it on. So Elite, how are you doing today? I don't know if you speak English or if you're just hopping on to say hi, but you are more than welcome to talk. Otherwise, you can sit here and watch me paint like a weirdo. Feel free to paint along with some project of your own. We do a little bit of everything here, even like Games Workshop stuff. But yeah, if these guys are blood bowlers, they are emphasis on the blood part. Although I do love me a tragic hero, or a tragic character, I should say. And the World Eaters definitely fit that particular sobriquet. So we're going to set these aside. And I do have all the colors out in front of me. I think this is going to be about 20 paint steps. So feel free to kind of grab a drink and dig in. So now we've got, you know, actually I don't even need the wet palette yet. So next step is going to be Black Templar. Now, I'm going to be doing the shoulder pads and the backpack in a blue, and the rest of it's going to be that kind of like really, really clean, crisp white that I'm just going to dirty the ever-living crap out of. I want the blood to show. So I did the backpacks and shoulder pads in black, and the rest of it, this is gray sear. Doesn't necessarily look completely off-white, but it is, and when you start actually highlighting, you'll notice. Now, one of the nice things is because I am using Reaper paints and the Games Workshop primers have a very similar finish. So I don't need to do that whole put the base coat color on again because you need a smooth finish. No, I already have a smooth finish. It's already the same. We're gonna go a little more crappy liners because we have a new nice one. And I'm gonna go and start out. And I do think this is just gonna be the first step of everything. By applying this in recesses that I can go clean up with the white afterwards. We're going to go and put it in like that area where the armor panels like kind of meet here on the legs. This was a step we want to be careful on. So Ilmarin, you painting anything with us tonight, or are you playing your vidges? Nice thing is there really isn't that much of this stuff on any one of these guys. And then I'm going to set you aside because we're going to do a little bit more, but we're going to switch brushes. I try to avoid switching brushes, but sometimes it is just necessary. Edges at the moment. I did some work on a pylon the other day. Oh, cool. Yeah, it was fun actually sitting down doing a cav stream. I still need to post pictures of the stuff that I did. I'm having an issue with the camera on my phone where the light box keeps overexposing everything, and I don't quite know how to fix it because I'm not a photo guy. Like, I know really nothing about photography. It's times like this I wish that you could actually like share pictures in Twitch chat, because I wouldn't mind get like having the pylon in here just to like show everybody. You know, for all the people who are watching. Yeah, this one, this stream I am intending to put on YouTube, just because I do want to show off like how I figure out my steps, because that is just as important as executing the steps themselves. So my rationale for doing this step first is that it is the most interior step. It's working with a contrast paint. If I'm sloppy, I can clean up. And this is one that will definitely require cleaning up if I wind up being sloppy. Of course. We'll have to attach you at the end then. Now, the other reason why I'm using contrast for this instead of thin down acrylic is because this is such a minor detail that I am not going to go back to this at all. I'm not going to layer it. I'm not going to highlight it. It's just this is the one step I'm doing. It's doing the black contrast over an off-white primer, so I'll have more than enough layering to get the point across of what it is. All right. Next step, we need a larger brush, and for this we actually have our nice new size 1. Let's grab a nice sip of beer. Let's get the one that didn't really connect that well to begin with. We will be doing a little bit more to the bolter. We're not just going to like leave it like this. It needs a little bit more work. But this provides us a nice base layer to work with. The barrel too, and the bayonet, the chain bayonet. Just so in case I miss a spot with the metallic, I'll have a little bit of like shadowing and shading to fall back on. I know plenty of people that actually do this piece of sub-assemblies too, just so they can get to the chest a little bit easier. You're welcome to. Don't feel like you can't. You do sub-assemblies however you want to do them. I tend to not do a lot because I just use the base of the model a lot to hold stuff. And I know I am going to try to glue to these guys their base sooner rather than later, so I can hold it properly. And see, I get black all over that nice white arm. Fortunately, it's where the shoulder pad goes, so it's all right. So I have nothing to hold them with. But it can just be called a little bit of grime. Because we're going to grind these guys way up with some charred brown. In some ways, this is like the most clean step that I have to do for these guys, because I'm dealing with this black by the white, and while I can clean it up later, I would rather not if I can avoid it. Oh, and we got one more spot to do after this that I'd forgot. I'm gonna have to go back to our liner for that. So fair warning disclaimer to anybody watching this. Don't take anything I say here as being like gospel truth. This is painting, this is artistic expression. There is no right or wrong way to do this. There are just different techniques that work versus don't. And even then, the ones that don't, like, they still count. And the ones that do, they won't necessarily. I'm a big advocate of making the process your own. I'm gonna layer a good bit on here. Oh man, I might have to go ahead and stream myself painting some of the bigger models, like some of the tanks and stuff. Maybe I'll stream myself actually, like, assembling the Land Raider that comes in the Age of Darkness box, so you guys can just listen to me curse for an evening. Alright, so we're gonna go back to the liner. I want to get the last bit that we need to, which is the eyes. So we want to make sure that our line is good. And we're going to have at least 2 layers on these visor slits. But for now, we need to go off of a black base, and I find the contrast runs in better. Zoom! Filmer says zoom, and yes, zoom indeed. Because that is one thing I actually really like about vehicles in the Horus Heresy, is that they friggin' move. Like... There's none of this, hey, here's a transport that moves the exact same speed as your infantry. It's like, no, they friggin' zoom across the table like vehicles should. That's the whole point of them. There winds up being a little bit of extra black around there. Just look like they have a eyeliner and are like a super emo world eaters, which world eaters kind of are. My cats go fast. Have you ever went fast? Gotta go fast. All right, so we are officially done with Black Templar. So I'm gonna just completely move it off of my station. All right. These actually look like they are good to go. So we're going to go and dry brush. Just going to do a quick dry brush of faded khaki. It's going to be really light, and it's a really light color dry brush, so this should show up beautifully. Cheap makeup brush. Off. Oh yeah, there we go. Let's set you guys aside. You know what? No, we're not going to set you aside. We're going to go and attach these guys to their bases now, so I have something to hold them by. Super glue. Here's another thing we're gonna do to prevent them from getting zip kicker on them and like. Number says, I'm bringing infantry, they're airborne trained, and I'm bringing civvy passenger planes. We'll be fighting close quarters turn 1. That is a good way to do it, man. Like, I am... A lot of times when we wind up getting these games and people have, like, actual foot-slogging infantry, I'm like, why? If it's a sci-fi game, get a transport. Like, don't make your poor guys walk. Especially don't get it in cav, because infantry is friggin' slow in that game. The slug better be an anti-air AA coverage or repair details. Yeah. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything. I mean, I can understand, like, maybe putting infantry in a bunker near an objective on your side of the table or something like that, but even then, what are they going to do? Cool. All right. They are on bases now. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to our next big step. We're going to go start with the blues. We don't need zip kicker anymore for a while. This we're actually going to have our... Now, I want to go ahead and do the blues early on. Because this is another one where I'm going to have to, like... They're going to have to be completely dry, because we're going to do a full coat of null oil over these. But we've got Templar blue, that's going to be our base. We're going to use one of our angle shaders. We're just going to... I know a lot of people will put these on like sticks or something like that in order to help them like get a better grip. And also, if you're doing this type of thing, like I could have just gone ahead and glued the shoulder pads and the backpacks to the miniature, and it would be fine. But this allows me to be a little bit sloppier with the null oil that I'm going to be putting on it. And I really want to avoid cleaning up that white as much as I can. We'll set those aside for the moment. All right, let's go ahead and start moving with some metallic bits. We got shadowed steel. And we don't need a ton of this, but get our size 0 now. Just going to apply this to all the metal bits. So chain bayonet, the clip, or magazine, I should say, that is more accurate, and the tiny snub nose barrel. In addition, we are going to kind of get this like chest piece, like piping, harness, whatever it is. Back here, you can see a surprising amount of it back here. So we're going to make sure to get it in the back. And while we're here, I'm going to get the handle of the bolt pistol. All right. Set your aside. And wash, rinse, and repeat. So one thing I like doing when I'm doing like mass infantry like this, and this is another workflow thing that helps, I do the exact same things in order. Like I know each one of these guys I'm going to have to do the gun clip, the barrel, the chain bayonet, the weird harness, and the grip on the bolt pistol, the holstered bolt pistol. So I even try to get it so I'm doing the same order over and over again. Don't worry about that, because that's going to cover my shoulder pad. And I do this so it kind of becomes mechanical, almost automatic. And I'm less likely to skip things and miss things. Although, you still won't. That's going to happen no matter what. Actually, in retrospect on these guys, I might try to do the arms and sub-assemblies from now on if I can. we're going to hop back over to our blue. And I think when I actually do this for like doing it, I'm going to go ahead and do it in a much larger batch so that the blue can completely dry and I don't have to hop back and forth, because that's just going to save me more time. It's going to be more efficient. So we are going to let's get the other side of these backpacks. A little bit more of that Templar blue. I'm not too smooth on these shoulder pads, but it's not really going to matter because I'm going to be shading and then dry brushing on them. Just want to make sure I get all of them. So I think I'm going to actually paint all the metal bits on the backpacks as just the gold, just to go and save a little bit of time and to go ahead and break it up a little bit. An excuse to get more of that gold on there. Alright, so next step, let's go and take care of the eye lenses. Coolant green. Which is a cav color, so you guys can check off your next square on Party Bear Bingo. Let's get our nice brand new script liner. Water this down just a little bit, not too much, because coolant green's a pretty transparent color to begin with. All right. So a line on each lens. Now let's wrap up those eye lenses with Dungeon Slime. An even smaller line. Almost just dots. This one needs a little bit more. There we go. Awesome. So we have like glowing eye lenses now. Fantastic. All right. So we got our greens done. As I'm doing them, I'm actually like setting the paints aside. I still need to go back to that one. Okay, so we are no longer in need of that. So we're moving along. I am going to be doing a black next. I'm going to have to hold stuff a bunch, so I'm going to use the restroom real quick and make sure to wash my hands. I will be back momentarily. And we're back. I have cleaner hands, and that's important because blue tends to leach onto white if you have it on your hands. I learned that with Gandalf. All right, let's go ahead and get back to it. Now, I like doing an intermediary step like the eye lenses if I have to wait for something to dry before moving to the next color, especially if that color is a shade. And this next color is a shade. So this is going to be not the most time-consuming step, but it's going to be one of them. We'll need 2 brushes. First, go ahead and get our angle shader again. Let's make sure it's all washed out. And we are going to run a shade over all of these. Oop. Got away from me. Now, I do think when I'm actually like doing these in mass, I am going to go ahead and just... I do these in large batches. So I am probably going to be running like the rest of my Marines, like the all the Astartes in Mark 6 that I get from the Age of Darkness box, all 40 of them in just one big batch. I'll do a separate batch for the Cataphracti Terminators. And each like vehicle will be kind of its own thing, but I will just do all 40 Marines in just one go like this. So when I do that, I'll be able to take these shoulder pads and the backpacks, and I'll be able to just tape them to a surface and be able to just across. I might break out the airbrush for it, because when you're mass painting stuff, that's exactly what the airbrush is good for. Actually, I think I won't do the dry brush. I'll just keep things a little bit darker. And we'll come back and get the other sides of those in a minute. Let's go ahead and apply the metals. Maybe get a little bit on the gun itself, it's not a problem. Anytime you're doing this black on the white, you do want to be careful for this army. Most Horus Heresy armies will not have this problem. Like, the vast majority of them have like a very, very vibrant, rich color scheme, so unless you're doing like yellow Imperial Fists, white Scars, or World Eaters, you don't need to be too careful about what you're doing when you're doing these this shading. And let's actually not forget that we have the handles to the pistols. And we have to do the magazine and the chain bayonet. Set you aside, and now these are dry enough that I can get the other side of them. Not my favorite towel for this. I'm having to dry off the my brush with my bare hands. Oh, I already got the backs of these. Getting back into painting, I was in a couple groups that did a lot of 40k. This is all what Ilmarin is saying. Really don't understand why they decided to paint groups, though. They look like the damn same. It's like, yes, good. The blue shooty man on motorbike. Very good, $200. Yeah, so... And that's actually one of the reasons why I picked World Eaters. Because there are only a few Horus Heresy color schemes for the Legiones Astartes that are multiple colors. In a lot of ways, like especially in 40k, like Space Marines are like beginner painting. Most Games Workshop models, especially Space Marines, are designed to be for beginners. They're very easy to paint. They're simple color schemes, and especially like the main thing is like blue. Blue is one of the strongest colors you can do. It's tough to get bad coverage with blue. So next we have our liner. We're going to recess shade all the black. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I think that 40k has a lot of really, really good models in the line. Just like I think Age of Sigmar has a lot of really good models in their line. But they really, really like their Space Marines. And yeah, I understand I'm saying this as I'm painting the Space Marine. They may have flagged one of my buildings as promotion because I named the model and company, so yeah, that's... Well, and I know that's one of the things that largely I think that most of the Space Marine aesthetic in 40k is very, as far as I'm concerned, is very bland. I think the Chaos Space Marines are a lot more interesting to paint and look at. I mean, that's probably the reason why, like, I never seriously entertained an idea of playing a Loyalist Legion in Horus Heresy. I just really like the storylines behind the Horus Heresy. And that's the reason why I'm, like, willing to do it. Plus, it's, you know, balanced and fun. The fact that everyone starts from the same, like, baseline chassis for their army. I mean, there are non-Space Marine armies in Horus Heresy, but it's like the bulk of the game is Astartes. Technically painted well mini is good, but yeah. Yep, and I agree with you. It's like, especially when you wind up getting all of the variant Space Marine chapters, like, it's like, these are the Space Wolves, and it's like, yeah, they have a couple extra details, but they're basically Marines that are just grayish blue. And the Dark Angels, which are, they have some extra details, but they're basically just Space Marines that are green. And that's the biggest issue that I wind up having with 40k, is that everything is a goddamn Space Marine. Once again, as I'm painting Horus Heresy, where literally everything is a Space Marine. There's actually one thing I tell people if they start getting into commission painting is, like, learn to paint Space Marines. It's the most important thing you can do, because at some point in your commission painting, you're going to be painting a lot of them. Because they are popular. Oh boy, they are popular. And there we have some recess shading on that white. Yeah, in Space Marines, like, you can go really, really far with just a recess shade and edge highlight. So a lot of times for workflow, I will go ahead and try to break up tedious steps like this. Like, I can see this step as being my stopping point. Like, I will go ahead and paint the entire batch of probably 40 up to this point in one go, and then this will be the one where I break them down into batches, because this is very tedious. God, I'm only paying 4 of them right now. If Ilmer says, if it means the balancing is all the same as how you mix and match, then that's great. If you have at least balance and skill expression. Yeah, and Horus Heresy actually has that to a much, much greater degree than 40k does. Like, it works off the same basic chassis, and then your different legion will provide you with a couple of legion abilities. And it lets you kind of like customize things. So you have like some special stuff for your legion. Like, the big thing is that World Eaters get an additional attack when they charge. So, the turn that they charge, every World Eater is better in melee. And then if you take the Rites of War for Berserkers, it's like, in addition to that, you get a +2 inch to your charge distance. So you're more likely to charge. You hit harder when you charge. And close quarters combat in 30k is very, very powerful if you can get there. And World Eaters get a bunch of abilities to help them get there. But there's also nothing stopping you from taking a bunch of like long-range firepower with them to like have a covery fire into it while you advance. They get access to all that too. So that even like World Eaters, which are all about kill, maim, burn, and destroy, they're still not a one-trick pony. Yep. And I don't think everybody using the same basic rules is necessarily the best way to balance, but I do know it does tend to lead towards a much more balanced situation. Not perfect, but I don't want it to be perfect. I just want like a semblance of balance. I just don't want it to be like what 40k is right now, where things are basically friggin' rocket tag depending on where you are in the meta. Strangely enough, Blue Shooty Man, like Space Marines, are not even like the easiest army in 40k to paint. That's Custodes. Because yes, their armor is much more ornate than the Space Marines, but generally speaking, people paint them gold, and doing a little bit of layering and dry brushing takes you a long way on them, and you don't have very many models to paint. I still think the most challenging army to fully paint in 40k is Orcs, because they have a ton of detail, and there's a crap load of them you have to paint. I don't necessarily say I don't think that the 40k aesthetic is the best, but if you don't like it, I mean, it's like you're going to see a lot of it in this hobby, just because it's so popular. It's just so, you know, omnipresent. Okay, we can toss Null and Oil to the side. I think I can actually do this now. Somebody's dropping stuff. Ah. Butterfingers. This is the step where the stuff really starts looking like it's coming together, because I can have the fully assembled models in front of me. Set you aside. Yeah, I think I might go ahead and assemble my Spartan on stream just so you guys can watch me freaking curse all over the place. Putting on what I think, when it comes to the Space Marine aesthetic, is the most important thing. So shoulder pads are kind of the like defining feature of these guys. Got a little bit of some sort of a silver on there. We'll call that battle damage. All right, I'm gonna go refill my drink. But with any luck, we'll be done with our super glue. But considering I have the test model and now for mostly done, pretty close to done, we're looking pretty good. Be back in Flash. Yep, woot, 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 woot indeed. Let's go ahead and start getting that blue highlighted. So we are going to go and go back to the Templar blue. Let's go and get a little bit on our palette. Should go by pretty quick. This is just a little bit of edge highlighting that we're going to do. Actually, don't even need the Templar blue. What am I talking about? Templar blue is done. Ashen blue. Ashen blue is what we need. So much like all the edge highlighting we're doing, we're going to have our liner, which is right here. Uh-oh, I'm going slow. Let's have a sip of beer. Cool. And we're just going to let the edge of the brush and the edge of the model do a lot of the work for us so we can do this quickly. If it winds up being a little bit bigger, that's perfectly fine. Back here, where we can't really do that, we'll just do a really quick line. Perfect. There we go on that step. A little bit of water in here so it's not like drying out too fast. Let's do it. Error here that I gotta fix. And of course I don't have a paper towel with me, so absorb it on my pants. Sorry I'm not being as chatty right now, guys. I'm focused on doing this edge highlighting. Panel lining takes a little bit of a focus. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and finish out this edge highlighting because we are going to go and take Snow Shadow and we're just going to go and zap up corners. Close to done. Just gonna dab the corners of the shoulder pads. All right. So we're coming along. We're actually getting pretty close to done. We're going to go and take some redstone highlight. This is just going to go on the gun holsters, as well as any spots that are leather. So we got pistol holsters. let's go ahead and move to Cursed Gold, because I will use Cursed Gold apparently on every project I do. Besides the helmet, to go ahead and break that up a little bit. Let's put it on the plasma vents on the backpack. As well as what I assume is like a cooling or a heat sink or something like that. I don't know what that part is. The molecular bonding studs that are on the shoulder. This is the step where you actually start adding like some real character and context to the mini. Really only got like a couple steps left after this. Thank you, Ilmarin. Ilmarin says that they're looking really good. I am very, very happy so far with how these guys are turning out. And I haven't gotten to the really fun part yet. Like, this is like the last, like, step that you look at it and you can see a really big difference. After this, I basically have to shade it down, highlight. I got to do a little bit more work on the gun case. And then I have to do the tedious edge highlighting on the white armor. And after that is when I get to go ahead and do the weathering, which is the really fun part. And I think I want to weather them a little bit more than I did on the test model. Alright, let's go ahead and add this to the backpack on this guy like I wanted to. While I'm waiting for that to dry, let's go and wrap the gun casing. We have, for that, filigree silver. And actually, there's really not as much, like, edge highlighting to do on the white. But this, we're going to do a quick edge highlight along the gun cases. It's going to be really, really light. Gun case and along the chain bayonet. Chain bayonet's the really important one. That's all we gotta do on that. Oh, somebody's throwing stuff. I got a lumbar support on my chair and it's helping my back a ton. I'm really just almost dry brushing this. I'm just kind of like adding a little bit of, like, you know, unmatting the black a little bit. Alright, we should be good to shade that gold. Let's pull out the Agrax Earth Shade. With a brand new pot, too. Sure you get it in the cooling here. Assuming that's what it is, and that's what I'm going to call it. I forgot to paint the leather strap on this guy, but let's go ahead and do that right now. Hopefully it'll dry by the time we finish out the rest of the Agrax Earthshade, so I can just apply it right away. Set you aside. Making sure it is nice and thick on this pistol holster. Cooling events. Should get these little wires down here, whatever the hell those things are. Oh, let's shoulder pad studs. That strap is good enough. All right. Last step before we edge highlight the white guys, and that should be going pretty quick because there's actually not as much to do as you think. Dragon gold. We're going to go ahead and just do a little bit of layering on that gold, but not much. Just little bits. Liner for this. don't even think I really need it on the jets. Kind of just need it on these. And space dudes. Dragon White, it is that time. Good size glob. Okay, we're going to make sure that this is nice and thin because it is like, well, it's white, so anytime you use white paint, you want to make sure it's thin because white has a really bad habit of drawing and clumping up. It's because the molecule in white is so big. This is also the part where if you can't see it, I'm not highlighting it. The most important part about this step is to make sure to clean up anywhere where the black is kind of like spilled over. A little bit more water in here. Make sure it's flowing. Extremely important right there on the helmet. So because it's so important on the helmet, let's go and start with the helmet, shall we? This is one where if you really want to, you can just go ahead and like edge highlight every possible thing on the model, but we are going to be doing a lot of weathering in this, so we're going to be getting rid of a lot of the edge highlighting that we're doing. Important parts of the edge highlighting are like the kind of like defining features of Space Marines. As far as I'm concerned, are like the pauldrons, the helmet, and the greaves here. Alrighty, we are just about done, guys. Let's get weathering! Alright, we need a sponge for this, and I don't know if I have one immediately available, so let me grab it from my sponge box. You know, sometimes we get miniatures that come with these things. You should always keep them. Because we're going to do a process called sponge chipping. I'm going to go ahead and tear a small corner off. This is all we're going to use. In fact, the more rough the cut, the better. Got charred brown. Doing this similar to dry brushing. Just going to take the areas here. I'm just going to like lightly the sponge up against it. The areas wherever like the paint would chip the most. So typically it's going to be like on edges. A little bit on the face there, a little bit on an arm. You don't want to be too neat with this. This is one where I know I've seen a lot of people do it with World Eaters, where they're like super chipped and grimy and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, I think that that's good, but I also think that it winds up like undoing a lot of the stuff that you've already done. So I don't have a problem with a little bit of the sponge chipping. Kind of like just bring out a little bit of like that chipped paint and griminess. But I think that there's a difference between them being bloodthirsty berserkers and them not taking care of their equipment. So that's done. Now for the final step before we rim our bases, guys. This is my favorite technique. Blood spatters. So we're going to take we're going to take a good size brush, in this case a relatively crappy size 1 round. You're going to make sure you got a clear area. We're going to take out blood for the blood god. See if this cap will stay open. Alright, we're going to take a big glob of this stuff. I'm going to put it between my mouth and the miniature, and I'm going to just blow really hard and really fast. And that's what it looks like afterwards. Let's do a little more. There you go, and you get this nice, beautiful blood spattering effect. Set them aside because we don't want too much to get on, and I would recommend going from I like going from the direction they're shooting or aiming or whatever, so it looks like they've done this. So now you gotta have a pretty big glob for this stuff to work, for this technique to work. Oop. That just globbed on there, so There we go. That looks like he just chainsawed the crap out of someone. My blood for the blood god may be going. All right. Yep. Blood. Carnage. And of course my hand looks like a bloody mess now. Ooh, yeah, I know, right? It's such a good technique, and it's like the more you do it, it just creates these super realistic blood spatters, and I love it. I love doing it. It's so much fun. It makes all of the painting Space Marines worth it to just go ahead and make them look like they just killed the ever-living crap out of someone in a really brutal way. Last step, pure black. Let's rim the bases. Like, blood for the blood god is like made for doing that too. I mean, take a look at this guy. He looks all sorts of gnarly now. It looks great. I love it. I'm excited. I'm like a child. Very angry, violent child. And once my transfer sheets actually get back in stock, I'll pick one up and go ahead and put a bunch of, like, markings and heraldry and whatnot on these guys. Yeah, by the way, if you ever do that blood spatter technique, make sure that there's no, like, miniatures behind it, because they'll get little drops of blood on them, too. But basically, just the bigger the blood, like, if you want a lighter blood spatter, just hold the miniature farther away. Or put a little bit less paint on the brush. Alright, guys, there you have it. So here was our test model. And now we've got 4 more just absolutely gunked up, bloody looking World Eaters. I think this guy's my favorite because it's like just absolutely covering him. Oh, that looks great. That looks great. I love that technique. Alright, guys. That's going to be it for the night. I hope like my little workflow thing kind of helped you a little bit. Every step is designed to like try to minimize dry time. I was able to get 4 Marines done in 2 hours here, and these are decently sized models. As I continue building, I can probably like have that time, so 15 minutes per Marine. So if I sit down for like 2.5 hours, I can get a full 10-man squad done. Cool, awesome. Well, I hope you guys had fun. I know I did, especially at the end. I get giddy when I get to do blood splatters. It's so much fun. Messy techniques are fun. All right, guys. Ilmarin, thank you for joining me. Everyone else who is here, thank you for joining. It's been great. Hope to see you again next week, and I might go ahead and try like assembling Spartan or something crazy like that. Until then, guys, be good to each other. Peace.